Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast.
Oh gosh, it's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you.
You leave me no choice. Here comes the smolder.
Wait, you like that?
No,
I don't like that.
No, I don't like that.
No, how about that? You like that?
A little better.
Bread makes you fat?
Does this count as annoying?
Just tell me what you want me to fuck! Not you, and not you.
Okay, I think it's time to take off your clothes and jump me.
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool?
I drink your podcast. I drink it up!
Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast, the series where we're talking about movies from 2010. Yay! With me today, I have Ben.
We're watching a movie that's not from 2010 today. We'll talk about that.
I mean, it was in the United States in 2010, but whatever. Yeah. Fuck you. And we have Brandon, our resident Western expert.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Yeah, and I'm Emily, and we're super happy to have you all listening to us. Please share us with some friends, rate us, review us. That would be great. We love to get some feedback. So let's talk about what we're drinking for a Western theme, or maybe a Korean theme. Ben?
That's the way I went, is the Korean theme. I went with a Seoul mule. So you got the Moscow mule, you got the Kentucky mule. This is a Seoul mule. It's ginger beer and soju.
Oh, did you go out and buy some?
I went out and got more soju like I did last time we did a Korean film.
Nice.
Very
cool.
Good.
Brandon, anything special in your glass?
No, I'm water. I was dehydrated, so I couldn't.
Too much time in the desert running from bad guys and good guys?
Running after my son so he doesn't run in the street with a soccer ball for. So it was a whole lot of water. I definitely need to hydrate here.
Emily?
Well, I decided to stick with the very tropey whiskey drink, I guess, for the American Western audience, or spaghetti Westerns.
Yeah.
Woo! So drinking some whiskey straight.
Delicious. What kind of whiskey?
Straight.
Well, I guess not straight because I have ice in it because I'm not that tough. I actually don't really know. I just grabbed a bottle out of this cabinet that my husband has. He has a lot of fancy whiskeys that I'm like, we'll just do this one. It has honey in it.
So this week we watched The Good, the Bad, and the Weird, which is a Korean Western comedy from 2008. And we're doing it now, though, as a 2010 movie because that's when it came to America. And this was one that I've always heard really good things about and I've always wanted to see. So I figured let's tackle it and get to see it here.
We're going to force it into our show because Ben really wanted to see it. I'm so glad you did.
I want to see it too, to be honest. I never got around to watching it for some reason. It always looked good to me. I never got a chance to see it.
And when we came up with the segment, The Good, Bad, and the Weird, it almost solidified that we had to do it. So The Good, the Bad, and the Weird is not available to stream, except the full movie is available to watch for free on YouTube. So check that out. It's been up there for a year.
Sponsored by YouTube?
Nope.
Just secretly on YouTube.
Post it on YouTube. So if you want to watch it there. It might be gone by the time you get there, but it's been up for a year. So maybe not. But maybe this publicity, because we're so huge, will cause them to pull it down.
If you get a chance to watch it, please do. It's just really good. Really good.
And The Good, the Bad, and the Weird is at 82% on Rotten Tomatoes and was included on the list of 1001 movies you must see before you die. It is directed and written by Kim Ji-woon, who also directed other films like The Quiet Family, A Tale of Two Sisters, and A Bittersweet Life. And this will not be the last movie of his that we watch.
Cool.
He's got another one next year that's supposedly even better than this one.
Oh, I find that really hard to believe, but I'm super excited.
Starring in this movie as the Weird is Song Kang-ho, who starred in the Kim Ji-woon directed The Quiet Family and is a frequent collaborator with Bong Joon-ho in Memories of a Murder and a 2007 favorite of ours, The Host.
Very good film, The Host.
Yeah, love seeing this guy pop up. He's always an enjoyment to watch. As the bad, you have Lee Byung-yoon, who starred in the Kim Ji-woon directed A Bittersweet Life and also starred in the G.I. Joe movies as Storm Shadow.
That's so fucking cool.
And he's also in Red 2. He's one of the bad guys in Red 2.
He's also in Squid Game.
Yep.
And lastly, we have the Good, who is played by Jung Woo Sung. And he starred in many Korean movies prior to this one, none of which I recognize. So I'm sorry to Jung Woo Sung. I can't call out more of what your career has been like.
He was very handsome. I was really into that.
Yeah, there's two. They're two pretty ass dudes in this, man.
They really
pretty.
are.
Yeah, Jung Woo Sung looked a lot like Steven Yeun to me.
Oh,
the guy
really?
The guy from Walking Dead. Like there were times where he would turn his head and I'd be like, "Is that the Walking Dead guy?" Even though I knew it wasn't. Both very good looking men. Now, this is a movie that Emily had not seen and probably had not heard of, if I'm guessing. You'd never heard of this, right?
I had never heard of it. And the fact that it was on par with our good, bad, weird segment, I went, oh, that's so cool that Ben inspired a movie.
Well, Emily, you knew that this was a Korean Western comedy.
Yeah.
What did you think it was about? Give us your synopsis.
Well, okay, so I grew up watching MASH. And so that was kind of all I knew about Korea.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know more now, but I figured I'd go with my gut on this one. So I was picturing Korea prior to MASH, so prior to the Civil War. I was picturing that the North and South were at odds with one another, and we had like a Clint Eastwood type lead who's narrating his bounty hunter journey as he plays both sides, where he's like the super selfless and sincere guy, but also constantly pulling pranks to capture his bounty, similar to Hawkeye. Just always pranking Frank. But Frank is his lovable term for all of these bounties he's catching. So he pulls chairs out from under people about to sit down, and he's like, "Ha, gotcha." And he's offering exploding cigars. "Ah, gotcha." He's tying horses together instead of shoelaces. "Ah, gotcha." Cutting gunslings so they fall down. And
gotcha.
Exactly. So, and of course, we've got to have some prank phone calls with some old-timey telephones because this is a Western. So I was picturing, just some really cool little old telephones. And I feel like the main plot of this is establishing this weird guy who's out to get the biggest bad guy out there. And therefore, he has to pull off his best prank yet. And so he creates a fake town like the end of Blazing Saddles. Ah, gotcha.
Blazing Saddles. You went there on that one.
Well, Brandon, off the back of the DVD cover, why don't you tell us what this movie was actually about?
Okay, the movie is the Wild West saga of three strangers, a bounty hunter, a ruthless assassin, and a bumbling thief, chasing a stolen treasure map across 1930s Manchuria. But in a lawless frontier where bandits, gangsters, and the Japanese army all battle for control, which double-crossing gunslinger will blast his way to victory?
Y'all, if you haven't seen the trailer for this movie, you need to go and watch this trailer because, like, that DVD cover, it's perfectly fine. It's adequate. But this trailer definitely solidifies that this is going to be a fucking wild ride. Yeah.
That synopsis gets at the good bad part, but not the weird part, and that's what the trailer hits hard, is the weird. Now, Emily, in your synopsis, you mentioned Clint Eastwood as a bounty hunter. Where did you come up with that?
Okay, so I have seen A Fistful of Dollars.
Okay.
Right? That's one of his movies, I think. And I know that he kind of plays this like emotionless sort of gunslinger in the West. And knowing a lot of the shows I watch in anime, I felt like a bounty hunter Western probably was going to pop up, or at least some bounty hunter would. And so I just kind of latched on to that because, what else am I going to do? Honestly, I couldn't believe that I didn't think about a train robbery. Like, that's every fucking Western out there.
Right.
So, but generally, yeah, like I was thinking Cowboy Bebop. As soon as I heard Western, I went Cowboy Bebop, and then Firefly, which is not, anime, but it's definitely space westerns. And there are a lot of ways that like I imagined this movie being, and it was all based off of like my prior knowledge of other media.
Well, A Fistful of Dollars is in the same trilogy as The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the same Clint Eastwood character in all three of those movies. This movie, this Korean one, was adapted from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And Brandon, you have seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Is that correct?
I have a few times.
How similar or dissimilar is this one from that?
Probably just as far as the characters go, that they're having those three different types of characters. For the most part, there's a few similar parts. Like the original Western, I guess the old school Western one, Eastwood and I guess he's the good, and the ugly kind of are kind of working together a little bit. Kind of are, kind of aren't. And it's actually in the beginning of the film they are.
Okay, so similar to this movie.
Right. And then like the bad guy is he's just literally just like the bad guy throughout the whole thing. So like the very last scene when you see all three of them together, that's very much taken from The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
Okay, so that's super iconic.
Yep, very much so. But yeah, other than that, this, and I don't know if you guys noticed this. I noticed it. I had to watch the one part 3 times. So I watched it 3 times. Did you notice well, I guess let me even go further back. So for modern Westerns, the whole train scene, I've noticed not only in this film, but in The Assassination of Jesse James and The Harder They Fall, there's a whole train scene. So like that whole train part basically sets up what this film's going to be. So even though Jesse James was considered a Western, it didn't feel Western-y. It didn't feel Western-esque to me. Because there's like a whole lot, because it was a lot more artsy than you see a lot more Westerns actually being. In The Harder They Fall, there's a part where the train conductor comes out and he's about to call them an N-word, and then Regina King shoots him, and it set the tone because you never hear the N-word in the whole film. And it's like, basically a black Western. In this one, if you didn't notice, the train conductor is the only white guy in the film. And he doesn't get shot, he gets impaled by a spear.
That's right.
So like I'm looking at that like he's the only person that doesn't get shot. He gets impaled by a spear. So I was looking at that like, what is that spear? So that's like literally like a Korean thing, like that whole spear is. So I was like, all right. So off tops is telling you this is definitely a Western, but it's not going to be driven by like Western, like the Western styles that you've normally seen with the Outlaw Josie Wales or A Fistful of Dollars for a few dollars more. What else? High Noon. It's not going to be that type of film. This is going to be our Western. Mm-hmm. So it kind of, just by doing that, it felt like it pretty much killed whatever you thought a Western was going to be based on the past. And we're going to break all these rules. So they had all like the whole wire stuff, and nobody ever ran out of ammunition. And it was this amazing film because now it's like, it basically established that like, this is what this film is. And I love when films do that off tops because you're not surprised if it happens on the back end.
The other thing that train scene does, and I went into this movie leaning more heavily on the comedy part of it because I had seen the trailer, so I knew that it was going to have comedic elements. With the way that they did the long shots in the train and kind of followed the character as he went through all of the train cars, I knew right away that this was also going to be a comedy that really paid a lot of attention to camera movement and really high quality cinematography. So right off the bat with that train scene, I knew I was in really good hands, where as in when I usually see comedies, I don't expect to see really well done cinematography. It's more focused on the jokes. But this one right away, I was like, oh, I know I'm in good hands for the rest of this movie because they're going to really be doing some cool stuff with that camera.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this movie, as you mentioned, Brandon, it does have like some homage to prior Westerns, probably spaghetti Westerns, I'm assuming. And I haven't seen a lot of traditional spaghetti Westerns, but I have seen enough parody of it, and I've seen enough references to Westerns where I picked up on the fact that you were going to see different tropes, but I feel like, Brandon, you're absolutely right. It completely subverted my expectations of what this is going to be. The movie, the whole time, you kind of expect they're going to run out of ammunition, or you don't expect this guy with a giant hammer to show up and use a hammer to fight against people with guns. And like, those are just some small elements, but I didn't really know what I was getting into when I saw the first scene. Like, there were definitely some intense parts between the guy that had the map and the bad, Chang Yi. But then once we hit that opening song with the opening Western feel to it with the train, you're both right. I felt like this is what set me up to completely understand not only the characters, each one separately, and a minimal understanding of their motivations. But then on top of it, you get to see how the world interacts with the different gangs. I mean, there's really only one gang in that part, but there's so much to set up and so much movement that you know exactly what you're getting into, and I fucking loved it.
Yeah, it's a really good film. I can't say anything bad about it. It's really good.
Now, one of the things that I did want to bring up was I ended up thinking about how, as we're going through the movie, there was kind of this fluctuation on who was good, bad, and weird. I mean, really, it kind of fluctuated between good and bad. I felt like this movie did such a great job of setting up these very structured categories, but then finding out the big spoiler at the end of Taegu being the finger chopper.
Yep.
And sets up this vendetta for Chang Yi, the bad guy that we've seen throughout. And then on top of that, the good guy, Duan, he just accepts the fact that, yeah, I'm going to be driven by money. Like, he's been a bounty hunter this whole time, and he kind of has been doing whatever he wants. You know, you think that he's a good guy because he's good at what he's doing. And at that point, you're rooting for the weird. But I didn't expect it to kind of move things around, and seeing how you get some sort of empathy for the bad guy, you know, and you get this horror from learning about Taegu being the finger chopper.
Yeah, you expect with a title like The Good, the Bad, and the Weird that they are going to fit into these archetypes and stay within these archetypes for the entire movie. Brandon, in your viewing of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, they pretty much do stay in those archetypes the entire movie, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, Clint Eastwood is always good through and through.
Yeah, he's just a regular bounty hunter. The bad guy is just corrupt, and the ugly guy, he's just trying to make his way. Like, it's not really I mean, he's kind of playing the middle. He's almost like the anti-hero.
Is the ugly just legit an ugly person? Like,
no, he's not.
What
Well,
that means.
He's not as pretty as these three guys, but I mean, for like, he's scruffy. He's scruffy, but I do like toward the end, even though it's like you think that the bad guy is extraordinarily bad, and he does bad things, but it always seems like he's not just he's motivated to find this guy and track down this guy. So in actuality, it's almost like, it's kind of like that whole like Killmonger aspect of like this film. Like, in a regular film, you would be rooting for the bad guy to find this guy who mutilated him way back in the day
and killed 5 of his men.
Yeah, I love that twist because it did make me rethink the entire movie I had been watching and the motivations of the characters throughout, because I was not expecting a twist at that time. Like, I thought this was just, okay, we're going to get to the standoff, they're going to shoot each other, and then we're all going to go home getting what we expected. And then they threw that twist in, and it was like, oh, I don't know who I'm rooting for now. And even the gunfight kind of plays with that, because they each get capped multiple times, and there's multiple times where you think that, like, oh, he's dead, and then he's not dead.
Oh yeah.
And they fall over again, and they slowly get back up. And that was part of the comedy of it. Like, it was very serious, and it was invoking a lot of emotional feelings for me, seeing these bloody men try to survive. But at the same time, that was like a very dark humor to think about.
It was well done. Even I think even like the kind of the first surprise that it's actually oil. I thought that was even.
Oh my gosh, that made me laugh so hard.
Cause like he was like, dude, what the hell? Like he's like, oh, he opened it up and it smells funny. I'm thinking like, oh, do they have to go down there? But I'm looking at the runtime, like they gotta figure this out pretty quick.
Right.
Then when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, boom, that's what the treasure is. Which, 1930s, I guess, in certain areas, that's not really considered, you're not really thinking about that, I guess. We're thinking about legit, some type of bullion there or something like that. But
I mean, that is for sure war, and armies are going to want that shit.
even like the time, I like how it is 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes it, because then it gives a reason to have those, like, he had like German Lugers, right? Isn't that what he had? Like the whole with the clip?
Yep.
So even having that and the motorcycles, and that was probably the longest chase scene on horse in motorcycle I've ever seen in my entire life.
Fucking amazing though, and it kept building.
Oh, it kind of felt like, it kind of low key felt like, oh man, what's the name of the movie? I love this movie too. I saw it by myself like years ago. I can't think of the name of it.
I know the chase reminded me of Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes, that's what it is.
Okay.
Mad Max Fury Road. Yes, that's what it reminded me of. And I was like, this is the longest fucking chase scene ever. But I was there for it for the whole time. Like, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, I loved how they built upon adding in every single gang that you've associated with throughout the film. And then they had the Japanese army. And then the Japanese army adds the artillery after we get Doan, the good guy, coming in to kind of rescue people. And it just keeps building and building, bringing to this high level of almost hilarity with just the enormous nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I appreciated the 1930s setting is when you think of Western movies in America, you think of post-Civil War and kind of what the country's been going through. And then moving it to the 1930s where the Manchuria area is being occupied by Japan. Like, this is just before World War II really starts kicking in. Like, it's the perfect move to a time frame where it would be similar to like our American West. Like, this is that time for that area. So I really appreciated that in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I know this movie also, we brushed on the ending, just like the surprise endings. I know this movie has 2 different versions to it. Brandon, do you know which version? Well, I guess you watched the one that I watched.
Yeah, I didn't know there was 2 versions.
So the one that we all watched was the international ending, which is the one that they sent to America and all the other countries of the world. And then there's a Korean ending, which after the map gets blown away and into the cyclone, the film cuts to black. And then when it picks back up, Tae-gu stands up and pulls out a sheet of metal out of his chest. And he actually survived the shooting.
Oh.
He then goes over to Chang Yi and puts him down into where the well is, or the oil well. And as he's sticking dynamite on him, he finds all of those diamonds that Chang Yi had stolen earlier in the movie. So he leaves as a rich man. And then we also see that our bounty hunter is also alive, and he decides that he's going to continue to pursue Tae-gu. And it kind of leads us to believe that like this chase is going to continue between the two of them, because Tae-gu now has a bounty of $3,500, which was more than even Chang Yi had.
Although I found that if you watched a little bit past the credits of the version that we watched, which was the American distribution one, that short little scene of watching someone paint over Chang Yi's poster of him being dead and changing out the poster, that was still there, including who we assumed to be Tae-gu riding off on a motorcycle. And it fades to actually black and white first, and then the credits go over it.
Okay.
So if you watch just a little bit longer, that was the same, but I don't know if it was meant to be. I don't know. I assumed that it did. And so when you said there was a different version, I'm going, well, it's kind of the same. You just got more out of it.
And I know the international ending is the ending that the director wanted, and this Korean ending is the one that they felt like they had to end things on like a happier note for the Korean audiences. So the international ending, the one that we saw, is the one that the director intended us to see.
Okay.
Well, let's jump into the namesake segment and talk about the good, the bad, and the weird, starting with who won this movie or what won this movie.
Oh my gosh, of course, Song Kang-ho won this movie. And if you guys didn't pick him, I don't know if I can talk to you, because holy fucking shit, this guy is brilliant. Everything I've seen him in, I have loved. Snowpiercer, Parasite, The Host. He is fucking incredible. And he captures this simple nature of the petty thief. And he tricks us all into this false illusion that he's just lucky and not just extremely competent, as he's like wildly shooting at things. But for some reason, occasionally he'll like sharpen and suddenly a bunch of people are dead, you know?
Right.
But then he's got this amazing delivery of every line. He has this phenomenal knack for physical comedy, which is why I 100% said he won this fucking movie.
So I will say, I thought he did a great job and he was very impressive. I think his performance will be even better when I go back and watch this now, knowing he's the finger chopper the entire time, because then this bumblingness is more of an act than his actual character.
So I actually went back and I rewatched it again today because I really, really was shaken to the core that he was the finger chopper this whole time. And oh my God, it is fucking insane, Ben. Okay. Like watching him go from just bumbling, falling on his butt, shuffling around while he's tied up, him zigzagging around to avoid
the zigzag was that was hilarious.
You know, he just really fucking does an amazing job balancing his character with that without giving things away. So he's showing like his character's probably truly a kind of an idiot, but also has amazing skills that are ingrained in his memory and in his body.
Brandon, your winner?
It's, you know, I normally lean towards cinematography, but
yeah,
even like the they use like that whole classic like orange blue palette throughout most of the film. The wire work when what's the other pretty boy's name?
Duwan.
Yeah, when he's just going from one little shanty shack to the next.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's like swinging through.
Oh man, that shit was so fucking badass. What else? And then the second pretty boy. I don't want to mess up anybody's names. I want to be respectful.
Chingy.
Yes. So he's literally like he has the best bad guy hair I've ever seen in my entire life.
Dude, fucking anime hair right there. Villain hair.
Like he had like the whole like Aaliyah swoop over the eye. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, this dude's got a fucking mullet. I've never seen a cooler dude. I was looking at it, I was like, where have I seen that hairstyle before? And no bullshit, like Rihanna used to rock that. She rocked that probably like no, I'm serious. If you go back and if there's anybody that watches music videos, it's an A$AP Rocky video. It's called Fashion Killer, and she's in the video. She's actually like the actual girl in the video, and she has the mullet. Every time when I started seeing his hair, I just wanted to say, yes, bitch, yes. I want to say it so bad. Every time I see him, dude killed that shit. Like, and he's such a good actor. Even when he was in The Magnificent Seven, when they did the remake for that, like you wait for him. And I felt like I was waiting for him to come. I felt like I was waiting for all three of them. They just did amazing like that. You couldn't have casted three better people, I don't think, for this film.
Yeah, and these are three big names in Korean cinema. Like these aren't like schlubby guys. This would be like if you had George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and Matt Damon all doing a Western together. I do love that costume design because right away with the costume and hair of Chang Yi, he's the bad guy. Done. Like you look at him and like, oh yeah, you're the bad guy. You look at Taegu and you're like, yeah, you're the weirdo. Look at that hat you have on. Like you're clearly the weird.
Fucking hat and goggles with the little pom pom that gets shot off right away in the beginning. Oh my God.
It's just great costume design to really fit your characters. But my winner was the action scene choreography because
fuck, you're so good.
Gunfights can be really boring for me, like unless they're unique and character focused, which these were. Like every gunfight was, or any of the chase scenes were all unique, and each one was a little bit different and focused on a little bit different of a character. The swinging from rope to rope that Brandon was talking about, that was
Oh,
awesome.
man.
The Mad Max chase scene, awesome. His little, you brought it up, Emily, the physical comedy of him zigzagging was hilarious.
So fucking funny. Should I zigzag or should I go straight?
Yeah, it's
so good.
I watched it. I was like, he's really just like dodging between these little bamboo shoots. I don't know what the hell they were. These pieces of wood.
I fucking love that he does that throughout the rest of the chase scenes. I don't know if you noticed that on his Jeep and on the motorcycle and everything, he would like zigzag back and forth. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, he's strafing like in a video game. Yeah.
Or even the scene at the hotel or whatever, the inn, where he does like the bamboo stick thing where he goes from the second floor to the first floor. Just so cool.
All the ghost market action stuff.
Yes.
They had a couple scenes there, and the first one where he's running away, the second one where everyone's chasing them and the good guy shows up and they're trying to save I can't remember his name, Gill or something.
I forgot his name too. It was
Gill.
Was that his cousin or his friend? I can't remember what it was.
His friend. But I found that with this, the action was done really well, but also just the cinematography of showing the movement of where things were going were done exceptionally well. And the weird character kept adding this element of chaos where you weren't quite sure what was going to happen. Fucking loved it.
He was in like the brothel, wasn't he? That was a brothel he was in, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what
the opium brothel.
Yeah, and he was fighting the guys, and they were like putting knives. Knives were going in places they shouldn't go. And he's got the kids. He's telling the kids to turn away. Even that stuff was really good. And like they followed up with that joke because when like the Japanese army got there, they was like, "What sicko does this to people?"
This is funny. The worst thing I've seen. It's a war crime.
Oh yeah, it was so funny.
I will say, of all the funny scenes, that one was probably my favorite. Just watching Taegun attack the really tall guy and just hit him in the head and does nothing, and then Three Stooges pokes him in both eyes and then shoves the knife up his butt and tells the kids to look away and, you know, keeps kicking it until he's dead. And then later when the kids do it to save Taegun, oh my God, it really just paid off to the point where I had to back it up, call my sister over and make her watch it with no context.
Staying on the cinematography, and Brandon, you mentioned the color palette, but what I really liked was how vibrant all the colors were, because a lot of the times with Westerns, you get a little bit more of a muted color palette where you still have the colors there, but it's a little duller. So I really appreciated this taking a more modern approach and really like upping the saturation and making it look really vibrant.
Mm-hmm. Especially because they were in the desert where there's not a lot of color except for the sky and the contrast between that. But, you know, all of it felt incredibly vivid and bright. And I liked that.
It doesn't quite approach Mad Max Fury Road where that film is so color saturated and vibrant. Like this, Mad Max is the one that this reminded me the most of, just in terms of the energy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You know, now that you're saying that, I definitely can see it. And I am surprised I didn't think about that because it does have a lot of similar feel, especially with the action work.
And one thing I noticed, it felt like everybody had a reach. Everybody had a tool on them. When a fight breaks out, there's more people shooting from other areas. It was just the gun battles, or like the whole gun scenes were just a lot of fun to watch. You don't get bored. It's not like, oh, they're just shooting. Even the part when they're sitting there and talking, it's like, hey, they're not shooting. What's going on? And you look up and he's got like a whole like machine gun shooting at him and stuff. Like even that part, it all felt like it never felt like any of the action was not motivated or not like not unnecessary. It all felt like it was fun. It was, again, nobody runs out of ammunition ever. It was just a fun Western. It was very, very fun.
I want to go on record as saying that I completely oppose teachers being given guns. But if they gave me that gun that does the thing where you like twirl it and it reloads, like, okay, I might accept a gun if you're going to give me that one. That gun was so cool when he's on the horse and he's like twirling it to reload.
Right. Isn't that a repeater? That's a repeater, right? Yeah, oh god, that's the what other movie had a repeater? And I was like, dude, if I could ever be in a western, that's the gun I want.
Yep.
I can't think of what it was, but he's using like I think he only uses a handgun toward the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's like even in the beginning, I wrote down like dude is fucking surgical with that shotgun on in like the train. I was like, damn, he's just working everybody over.
There was one of my favorite parts where Duan kills a guy through his scope. You know, he's got his shotgun and he's flying through the air, and just the way that was filmed, but just generally showing how fucking badass this good guy is. Loved it. And there are so many moments like that.
The little moment of where we see how badass Chang Yi is, where he throws the knife at the insect and then shoots his gun at the knife and it goes deeper into the wall. Like, it was like,
fucking incredible.
Fuck yeah.
It was good, man. It was good. It was I don't know if you've ever seen this movie called Quigley Down Under. It's probably one of Tom Selleck's best movies. But like it kind of had that feel when like in Quigley, like he gets beat up a little bit and this guy's taking off with all this stuff and he's like super far away. He's like a long shooter and he just pops this guy from like, I don't know, like 300 yards out. Like the guy's in stride on a horse. And it felt like these guys had that level of marksmanship, even though it's more of like an actiony type aspect of it. Like you don't not believe that these guys are like masters at their craft at like shooting guns.
Okay, we all love this movie. Did we have any bad?
Okay, the only really bad thing, it was so hard to like dig up anything because I fucking love everything. I struggled. We'll just cut all that down to I struggled picking something. But there were moments where I didn't like the fade to black transitions.
Yeah.
There was specifically one that felt really forced and incomplete where we're moving from Mangil's death, where I honestly missed it the first time. I was like, where the fuck did Mangil go?
Right.
But you jump from that fade to black, and then now we're with Chang Yi's gang in the desert and they're eating. And it's not that doesn't work. It just felt really jarring, and I wasn't expecting it because everything else felt very cohesive. And so there were a couple moments of fade to blacks that I just didn't really appreciate. They felt weird.
Jarring is a good word to describe my bad, and it's the inconsistency of the violence within the movie. Where there's some parts where it's like, oh, it's silly, like look at that butthole mutilation, like that's so funny. But then there's other times where it's like close-ups of fingers being like sawed off.
Yeah.
And it was tough to watch. So a little more consistency in terms of the violence being shown to us would have been appreciated, because it was sometimes it was comedic and sometimes it was horrific, and it just didn't strike the right balance for me.
And I think that they did the best that they could, but I'm sure that they were trying to stay away from the Kung Fu Hustle sort of vibe. But generally, I would agree with you. The tonal shifts with the violence definitely felt off.
It kind of felt like the whole, I don't know what to call it, the butt death.
Yeah.
It felt like that should have been before he was trying to saw the guy's finger off. And then he said, it's too dull, give me a different one. Because I even cringed a bit. I was like, damn, he's going to really cut his finger off? Like, he sliced this guy up from 7 ways to Sunday by now. Like, he should be bleeding out. And then that transition, like you said, it just felt like I didn't know if he was dead. I figured he was dying, but I didn't know he was dead. And they just kind of like, they don't mention him again. I was like, oh, okay, I guess he didn't make it.
I mean, I'll just move on.
Yes.
I also didn't really like that Duan didn't just kill Chang Yi. And I think that reflecting back on it, seeing it again, and noticing the transitional ways the 3 main characters kind of flowed within their different characterizations of good, bad, and weird, I can accept it a little bit more now. But initially I was like, what the fuck, Duan? You're the good guy. You're supposed to just kill the bad guy. You're kind of partnering up with Taegu. What the fuck, man?
Let's go to our favorite character, the weird.
Can we just talk about every single humorous thing that he does instead?
I really liked the part where he's escaping. He's tied up by Duan,
Oh my
and he's
God.
trying to escape and
yeah.
get that key thing, and then he runs out the front door and he looks right at the guy, and he's like, "You folks shouldn't be so careless," is what the guy escaping says to the people holding him captive.
Or when he's wearing the old-timey scuba gear helmet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, this is so fucking heavy, but it's really cool. Or Granny, talking to his granny was so great. So weird. So great.
Have you
I
been
loved
here the
it.
whole time? Did you stay in here?
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, Granny's dead. I thought she was done. He's just an amazing actor. I don't. Again, it's just if you haven't seen him, and if you haven't seen Parasite or The Host or Snowpiercer, please do, and then see this, because I've seen the other three first, and I saw this, and I knew he had range, but I mean, he has unlimited range. He's basically Steph Curry walking into the gym. Like, there's no shot he can't hit. He's amazing in this, and he drives the film. He definitely drives the film.
Speaking of driving the film, one thing that I forgot to mention earlier was just the score. The soundtrack of this movie works so fucking well, where it just drives home every point. You've got kind of this opening, not traditional Western sound, but it kind of has a mariachi feel to it. And then you kind of get some rock and some punk, and you get some interesting instruments that maybe you haven't heard before. You get some weird synth, and they all blend really, really well. So I felt like it was just a perfect blend of all of the different elements that makes a movie great. So there's my cork on it, Ben.
Did you not have any weird?
I mean, honestly, the only weird thing Brandon already talked about, I had to just accept the fact that there were bullets in their guns all the time.
Nobody runs out of ammo.
Yeah, there were a couple times I had to pause and go, should I look up to see and count how many rounds are in different guns and like learn about guns to figure out if this works? And I went, fuck no. I'm just going to accept it and be fine with it. So that was really the only thing.
I mean, the only weird thing for me is really something that just comes down to my own brain and my experiences with Westerns. And I constantly had to remind myself that this was not American West at like post-Civil War. So anytime something like a car or a movie theater came on, my brain would be like, that shouldn't be in a Western. And then it's like, oh wait, it's the 1930s. This is not America. Like, my brain had a hard time.
That's funny.
Transitioning from like seeing clear Western imagery to it being, oh, not America, not post-Civil War.
Wow.
Hey, that's why they speared the guy, the conductor.
Yep.
They speared him like, it's not going to be what you think it's going to be. And I bought into it. Like, once I looked at his guns, I was like, those aren't revolvers. I'm like, okay, it's not 18 something. It has to be 1920s, 30s or something like that. And then when I didn't realize exactly what time it was until, what was the guy's name? It was the bad guy's boss. And I think it was his safe, and it said 1924 on it.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, it's probably not 24. It's probably closer to 30. So then I was like, all right, then that gives a reason for the Weird's guns and, like the motorcycle he's riding on. Like, okay, now I can, and I was cool with it. From there on out, I accepted it. It could have been like a full on like Gundam suit that popped up, and I'd have been cool with that shit. I didn't even care. It was just good. It was really good.
Dude, if a Gundam had shown up, I would have peed my pants. That would have been so cool to have some mecha suits going on.
Emily already put a cork in this thing. Let's go to Brandon. Final thoughts, Brandon.
Watch this movie.
Please watch it. It's if you enjoy Westerns, please watch it. It's a different take on a different areas West, and it's go into it and enjoy it. Just flat out enjoy it. The acting's great. Nobody misses a beat. The colors are great. The cinematography is amazing. Sometimes the camera gets a little shaky when they're running around, but you can forgive that. Just go watch it. If you get an opportunity to watch it, you will not regret it. Please go watch this film.
I mean, you guys said it all. Like, this is something that you should be going to see. There's a reason that this is in the 1001 movies to see before you die, because it's It is truly that good. And I have this perception of foreign films as being things that have something to say. Like you think of foreign films, you think of kind of the pretentiousness of some of the French films you see. You think of serious tones and thrillers.
Melodrama.
This is a popcorn flick through and through, and it's a foreign popcorn flick. And I had never seen one of these before, and it blew my mind because it's not something that you need to get heavily invested in the characters. You will, because the characters are so well done and the acting is so great. But this is something where you could just throw it on and be like, gun, go, bang, and just enjoy it for 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Gun, go, bang.
What's your favorite idea? Mine is being creative.
How do you get that idea?
I just try to think creatively.
All right, kids, let's play some Twits Light. Number 1, we got a dream that Taegu talked about where he wanted to have a farm back in Korea with goats and cows and chickens. It was very sweet. But we never figured out what Duan's dream was because Taegu went to sleep. So what dream would Duan have that you want to share with us?
Maybe he just goes to America and just wrecks shop. I don't know. I can't think of it. He was so badass. I can't think of anything. I don't know. Maybe he goes into a cryogenic state and joins the Avengers later or something. I don't know. Just anything. He was just too fucking cool, man.
Duan is motivated by money, and he is going to end up with a lot of money. So much money, in fact, that he can start a contest where he brings in a bunch of poor people and has them battle in children's games for that money. So Duan's dream is to start Squid Game.
Oh my god. He really is a bad person.
Well, yeah, he's got that duality in him. He's good and bad.
And weird too,
and
you know,
weird.
having adults do children games.
Yeah.
Number 2. Taegu finds the unexpected treasure from the map and it's oil. Just kidding. Let's change it up. What unexpected treasure do you really want Taegu to find?
He finds the script to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That's the treasure he finds.
What would he do?
He would take it to his producer friends, Korean cinema on the up and up in the late 1930s, and he would beat America to the punch with making, or I guess it was Italy, because spaghetti westerns.
Yep.
Right, because Sergio Leone.
Yeah.
So he beats the rest of the world to the punch and starts the Western craze.
Oh, or he starts World War II early and says, fuck you to Italy.
Wow. Yeah.
My thing is he finds the recipe for Dapper Dan pomade and he distributes it across the world and becomes a multi-billionaire because everybody in the 20s and 30s was slicking their hair back. So I think that's what he does. That's what he does.
Oh, that's good. Okay, we're sticking with the weird. We're sticking with Taegu. Number 3. We had a lot of funny ways that Taegu killed someone. Give me a funny way that Taegu's gonna kill someone next.
It's hard to beat that in the film. I can't.
Now that we know he's the finger chopper, I'd like to see him chop off a finger and then make someone choke on it.
Oh my god, Ben, that's so not funny.
Goodness gracious.
How do you make that
It's
funny?
all about execution.
Okay, how do you do that?
You know how cocktail weenies have the little toothpicks in them?
Oh god.
Yeah, he's got a plate of what looks like cocktail weenies, but they're all fingers.
Oh my god. I think that's really dark and demented and twisted, Ben, but sure, we'll go with funny.
I don't know. Maybe he just like stands them up and just like pulls back bamboo shoots and just pops them in the face with them until they until they pass out. I have no clue.
Get him. His was dark too.
It was at least funnier in seeing him smack someone in the face with bamboo shoots over and over again.
I can't think of anything. Like the butt stuff was just hilarious. It was I felt bad laughing at it because I knew that they were gonna die, but at the same time, he just kept kicking them, and that shit was funny as hell.
Nah, I needed some more Three Stooges slapstick humor. You know, just smacking each other both on the head over and over again until he just like gives him a concussion or something. Maybe it doesn't kill him, but you know, it will eventually.
I'd like to see him pick up Granny and throw her like a spear.
Spear somebody with Granny.
Yeah,
Remember, Granny's gonna live longer than him.
that's right.
Yeah.
Especially when she pierces through the body and we see Granny like an arrow through the middle of a guy's stomach.
Ben, let's play your game.
Shall we play a game?
I despise guessing games.
I have this great game. Makes you think and it helps your memory.
Let the games begin.
Okay, I've got two versions of my game today. One Brandon gets to play and one that Emily gets to play. So Brandon, you get to play the movie version of my game.
Okay.
And this game is called The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. So
On brand.
everything, Brandon, that I give you is going to be movie-based or things from movies. Emily, your version of the game is just the life version, just random things from life. So
God.
I'm going to give you a list of things, and you tell me if you think that I, Ben, find those things to be good, bad, or weird. Here we go. Brandon, do I find it good, bad, or weird that Indiana Jones survived a nuclear bomb in a fridge?
Weird.
I find it bad. James Bond never has to hunt for a parking space.
That's weird.
That is weird, isn't it? Sarah Jessica Parker.
Just generally, as
Just
her.
generally.
Bad. I'll say
Yes,
bad.
you're right.
Okay.
She is bad. Brad Pitt won't stop eating on screen.
Good.
Yeah, I enjoy that. Yeah.
Me too.
Those high schoolers are really 30.
Weird.
Definitely weird. The camera rotating around people with the setting sun in the background in Michael Bay movies.
Bad.
Oh, I like that. Sorry.
Really?
Of course you do.
It's only,
fucking
you know what?
weirdo.
It's the first time I saw that wasn't Bad Boys. I thought it was cool as fuck, and then I see it in every last one of his films.
It's
and
in every one of them.
It's like, all right, Mike, we got you. We got you.
J.J. Abrams lens flares.
Weird.
Bad. She just woke up and her hair and makeup are done.
I hate that shit. I would, for me it's fucking terrible. It's bad, but I guess for you, weird maybe.
It's bad.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. Okay, Emily, those were all movie related. These are all just life related. Are they good, bad, or
boy.
weird?
Okay.
Waking up 1 minute before your alarm goes off.
Terrible. That's really bad.
No, it's weird. Why does that happen?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It's why? Why does that happen? It's weird.
For some reason, I heard it as 1 minute before you had to go somewhere.
Oh, no.
My brain is just whatever. Keep going.
Pretending to be interested in something because someone else is blocking what you really want to be looking at or grabbing.
That's definitely bad.
I actually really enjoy that feeling. Like
What
that's
the fuck
kind
is
of fun.
wrong with you?
Kind of, you're like, oh, I'm pretending to look at this rice-a-roni. Okay, cauliflower mashed potatoes.
Terrible.
Absolutely terrible. Endangered species balloon animals.
Amazing. That's definitely good.
That's weird.
Whatever.
Packing a book to read on a vacation and then never opening that book and then getting home and realizing you never opened that book and putting it back on the shelf in shame.
Definitely bad.
That's definitely bad. That feeling when you take a poop and get a little lightheaded.
That's a good feeling.
Absolutely it is. Wondering where your glasses or keys are when they're on your face or in your hand.
Oh, that fucking weird, man.
So
That's fucking
weird.
weird.
When you sit so long that one of your testicles falls asleep.
I'm gonna go with bad on that
It's
one.
good, baby.
Oh, I don't know if I like that.
That's a personal. That's definitely a personal thing.
Now let's all agree to never be creative again.
We're not playing your games again.
Oh, well. Okay. Well. Thank you, everybody, for listening this week. We do appreciate your continued support. Or if you're a first-time listener, we really appreciate you stopping by and just checking us out. Please like, rate, subscribe, share us with a friend or two, and follow us on social media at IDYP_podcast on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us at idrinkyourpodcast@gmail.com. Next week, we'll be watching The Other Guys with our resident New York City and comedy expert, Matt.
I'm pretty sure Ben hasn't seen this movie, and I have.
That's correct. I haven't seen this movie.
Oh,
I'm so excited.
I know it's got Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
Hilarious.
And I know it's a buddy cop movie, but that's all I know.
It's going to be a fun time.
Okay.
Well, we're super, super happy that everyone got to listen to Brandon and Ben and me today. And just to end the show, Ben, in your most badass Western accent, could you please end the episode by saying, I drink your podcast, I drink it up.
So it's really hard to sound badass with my high fucking voice, but let's give it a shot. I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
That was good, though. That was good.
It was a good accent. You definitely didn't sound badass.
Oh.
Maybe weird.
I'll take it.
Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
All right, take it easy, y'all.